Okay, so I've read all the January Celebrity Book Club picks, and I want us to come together and do an audit to really decide which of these book club picks are actually worth your reading time. Now, this month we've got a memoir that really gave me big educated vibes. There's a sequel pick that really screamed more of we're thinking about the adaptation first and then readers second. There's also a new Gen Z spin off club that honestly might be the most exciting thing this month. But there are also some really more quiet books, like I'm not really hearing them being talked about, but I think they're excellent choices. And then we have Oprah just doing her own thing with her book club because, Oprah is Oprah. Now, if you're new here, I'm Victoria. Welcome, welcome. Grab a drink, let's get cozy, let's hang out and judge some of these celebrity book choices together. Now, I have a game plan. I have notes. I always kind of come low-key prepared. So we're going to go through the January book club picks from the Read with Jenna book club, Reese's book club, Sonny Reads, which is Reese's new Gen Z book club spin-off. We also have the Good Morning America GMA book club, and then again Oprah, who is very much just operating on Oprah time, though I have a theory about that book club pick. But let's start with Jenna because I actually think she came out the gate really strong with a first book club pick for the month of January. So the Read with Jenna January pick is Homeschooled by Stefan Merrill Block. Now, if I had to summarize this, I would say this is a memoir about Stefan and his isolating childhood after his mom pulls him out of school and she has a thing she calls homeschooling. But truly, it turned out to be years of neglect, which was really shaped by her unresolved trauma. Now, I kind of felt like this is one of those books that is kind of really harrowing, but also dark and low-key, it has funny moments. I think it's just very much in conversation with the book Educated, if you read that one. So you've got that, my childhood was a bit of a horror story kind of bit, but now I'm trying to make sense of it energy. But it feels a bit more intimate, but it's also offbeat at the same time. So again, low-key, very disturbing, deeply humane at the same time, lots of complicated feelings with a parental love, but also mental illness. And it had that feeling where you can't believe this is someone's actual life just because, it's completely different from, your own, in this case, my own. Now, I already had this on my radar. It was in the winter reading guide. If you're new here, I do a seasonal reading guide every season. This was on the expanded list for nonfiction. So yeah, I felt like Jenna came swinging. I would say this is good for readers who are in the mood for something more reflective. And if you can handle some of the heaviness with a side of, the humor is dark, okay? But I think this is worth your time. This is definitely worth your time. But if you're in a fragile season, right, where you actually need cozy, just park this one for later. This might not be a right now for you kind of book. But when it comes to Jenna's book club, I think this is worth your time. I think it's good. Let me know your thoughts in the comments of, what do you think about this Jenna's pick? But I want to get into Reese because I think this one is interesting. Now, the January Reese's pick is The First Time I Saw Him by Laura Dave, which is the sequel to The Last Thing He Told Me. Now, all right, let me tell you about the book. So we have a character, Hannah, and her stepdaughter, Bailey, find out that Owen might actually still be alive. And to reunite with him, they kind of have to go through a whole bunch of things. There's a crime syndicate that wants him dead, and just, it's a bunch of things. Listen, expectation-wise, propulsive suspense, globe-trotting thriller. You're going to get that emotional payoff. I feel like people will be invested in this one because, you have that found family element as well. It's that kind of book where you can see the adaptation in your head as you're reading. And that for me is why Reese chose it again. And this is where I get grumpy as a reader and a curator because here's the thing. I get the pick from the brand perspective of Reese's book club. The first book in the series was a Reese's pick. It became a show. And this feels like it's setting up, another show. But in terms of curation for a book club, I don't really like it because I don't like when celebrity book clubs go back to the same author they already blew up. Because it starts to feel like less of we're discovering new voices for you. And it's more like we're extending a franchise. We're extended a brand and all the things. Now, did I fly through it? Yes. Did it keep me turning the pages? Also, yes. But did it feel like an exciting choice Reese should have made at the start of the year in January? I don't think so. I think on whether this is worth your time, I think this is a library only selection. If you love the first book and you want that closure, put that on your library holds list. If you love the author and you want to pre-order it. I just don't think it should have been the flagship pick when there's so many exciting options out there. And because low key, I kind of feel like I'm selecting really good picks. I'm a good book club curator. Again, because of the winter reading guide, which is why I put together these seasonal reading guides. I'm going to stick a pin here and recommend like 2 books for you that I think, you know what, maybe Reese should have picked one of them, okay? So the first book I want to pitch you is The Jills by Karen Partman. Okay, we're going into the world of the Buffalo Bills cheerleaders. And one person in the squad goes missing, and then the best friend starts digging around, and then of course, uncovers this dark, crimey underbelly beneath the glitz and glamour of it all. So it has that Dare Me energy. You remember that book? Just glossy, high pressure, feminine spaces. But of course, there's something rotten underneath it. You're going to get true crime grit, you're going to get sports, you're going to get sisterhood, and just that sick mix of heartbreak and fury when you see what these women are put through. So it kind of made me feel both heartbroken for our main character, Virginia, but also impressed by her resilience as she pushes past a very sluggish system to kind of get answers. So I think if Reese wanted something suspenseful with strong character work and commentary, this would have been like a more fresher, more conversation starting choice. However, I also have this other book, Murder Your Darlings by Jenna. Listen, I love this one down. We have a burnt out novelist who gets pulled into this intense relationship with a literary superstar. But again, underneath the glitz and glamour, there's that pattern of just dead women writers. And there's a stalker called The Rabbit and a whole writing group that just feels more like a warning sign than accountability group. It's just like pure catnip if you loved Yellowface or The Plot. So it gives you that bookish thriller with the publishing drama, but smart and feminist and suspense filled at the same time. So I was entertained, but I was enraged at the same time because it really skewers how the literary world treats women while still delivering delicious twist at the same time. So again, if I was Reese's friend, I would low-key say, look, you can go with The Jills or Murder Your Darlings instead of going back to the Laura Dave. And again, love Laura Dave, no offense. It's just like, I feel when you have such a big platform, you kind of need to, you need to promote debut authors and authors who could use the promotion. I kind of feel like people would have already gone on to read Laura Dave regardless, But let me know your thoughts in the comments, both on the Reese pick, but what did you think about my recommendations? Now, still in the Reese territory, let's slide over to Sonny Reads, because this is where I genuinely got excited. So in case you haven't heard of it yet, Sonny Reads is the new Gen Z focused arm of Hello Sunshine. So it's in the Reese's universe, but it's specifically for younger readers. And their whole pitch is that Gen Z women are already reading a ton of books and they're craving like that community and spaces that sit at the cross section of their interest of books, but also fashion and vibes and rituals and all of the things. So Sonny Reads is really trying to make the book club feel more than a book club and more like a cultural movement. So not just a reading list, so to say. And I find this low-key interesting because for readers who've been around for some time, we have seen Reese tried with the YA book club pick. At one point she was trying to be very consistent with it. Then I kind of felt like she was going seasonal with it, which I honestly wasn't mad about the seasonal book club of it all. But now this is a whole spin-off brand. So I find that low-key interesting. But let's get into Sonny Reads and their first book club pick. Now, I love this book down. This is like 10 out of 10 big time wins across the board for me. And the first selection is Beth is Dead by Katie Burnett. And I loved this. This is your modern twisty murder mystery reimagining of Little Women, where Beth is dead and literally everyone around her is a suspect. Again, perfect timing, loved it down, super fast pacing, very bingeable. We get multiple point of views from all 4 March sisters. So it gives us that fun but slightly unhinged, like, who do I trust energy? Because you really don't know. And it's just a really smart balance between honoring the original characters, but also totally remixing them for a now generation. So even if you've never read Little Women yet, I kind of think that this still works. by itself, but also as a thriller. And again, if you don't know the original, there's that extra layer of joy and dread because you're constantly asking yourself, like, who are they really going to make the villain? Are they going to make Beth the villain, you know? And tone-wise, I just think for what Reese is saying they want for the Sonny brand, like something very discussable, mood board vibes. I think I can see the playlist already, the Get Ready With Me, the chaotic group chat, just everything kind of coming out of this if they really lean in. And again, not to say that I'm a trendsetter, but this is one of the top 3 in my winter reading guide. So seeing Sonny pick it as their first pick, I think it's a solid first pick. And I'm going to say this is worth your time. Like, if I had to hand out a trophy to a book club for nail the vibe of saying what they want to do and doing it, Sonny is the winner this month. Like, hands down, 10 out of 10 just across the board. It is so good. And you already know how I felt about it if you got the winter reading guide link in the video's description. It's free. The PDF has a curated version and this is in there, but I also have an expanded list if you want more books. But today's conversation is not about me. So let's get into the Good Morning America book club pick, the GMA book club picks. So they have 2 picks. They have their adult selection and their YA selection. And I feel like GMA is the quiet overachiever in this space right now. Like, they're not loud as Reese, but I think they're consistently putting out decent books for people to read. And January is pretty decent. So let's get into the adult pick because they chose Skylark by Paula McLean. Now, this one, we follow a woman trapped in a 17th century asylum and a psychiatrist in Nazi-occupied Paris. So they're risking everything to kind of protect dignity and truth and just, you know, all the things of that time. I think this is a quietly powerful historical fiction, very atmospheric, very character driven. I think it's more about the moral courage than, you know, those big explosive twists. So for me, I enjoyed seeing the connection between the timelines. I think it's subtle, it's symbolic. So if you love your historical fiction to kind of really sit with you and slowly unfold rather than just shout plot at you and just going fast paced, I think this is a good pick. It's also in my winter reading guide historical fiction list. I feel confident saying this is worth your time, but only if you want slower, thoughtful of an, you know, like a reading experience. However, the YA is a whole other vibe. Now for YA, they selected The Swan's Daughter by Roshni Chokshi. And I have to tell you, beautiful, amazing, just great book. So we have a magical swan girl who disguises herself to compete for a prince's hand just to survive. And she ends up tangled up in this like deadly curse situation. So this is lush. It gives grim fairy tale vibes-ish, but strong feminist undertones, morally complex characters, just a really true slow burn. And it has a romance element in there, but it's more of what does it cost you to love someone but still stay and be free? Again, another book in my winter reading guide. And this one also lands in my top 3 YA picks. So I fully back this choice. I would comp this to Uprooted or Spinning Silver or just those darker fairy tale retellings. I think this one will absolutely hit. So for GMA, I think, yeah, Skylark and The Swan's Daughter, they both get a worth your time for me, you know? It's just they're slightly different. They're for different readers. They're for different reading moods. So just pick the one that you're in the mood for and that you kind of need right now. But of course, we have to talk about Oprah, the OG. I could not wrap this video up and not talk about Oprah. Now, here's the thing about Oprah that is important to remember. Oprah does not do the conventional monthly pick game. Because when you really look at her historically, she's all over the place, you know? Like in 2024, when I look back at my list, she selected 6 books, but in last year, 2025, she picked 11. I think she chooses when she feels like something deserves a moment, you know? But here's the interesting thing. As of filming this, we don't have a fresh Oprah's book club pick for January. But what we do have is Oprah out on tour for her very own book. So she wrote a book and she did a collab. The book is called Enough, Your Health, Your Weight, and What It's Like to Be Free, which she co-wrote with a doctor friend of hers, Anina M. Jastroboff. And to me, that kind of is her pick low-key right now, you know? I mean, Oprah said, look, I'm not selecting a pick, but I'm going on tour, but buy my book, you know? And she's really sharing about her lifetime struggle with weight, and of course with the doctor kind of chiming in and reframing obesity through current science and everything that we know now, and making it like it's not a willpower or a moral failure, it's actually a disease. And I think if you grew up watching Oprah talk about diets and makeover shows and just all the things, I think it's very interesting. I really do. I think it's interesting, but also powerful that now she's out here saying that actually the story that we've told about weight and health is actually very incomplete, and it's often cruel and unkind. But here's what we understand differently now, And I can respect that. I can respect someone revisiting something that they have always had an opinion on and had publicly shared about. And they're like, you know what? We're going to revisit this and we're going to reframe it with everything we know now, which is also like a subtle reminder that we're always learning and growing, and we need to have room for that. However, can we gossip a bit? Okay. Can we gossip a bit and say, I feel like Oprah is standing 10 toes down with her new book out right now and her saying, look, I'm not selecting a book club pick, but buy my book. I think, well, officially, this is your pick. I always wonder why people don't just lean in and own the fact that, hey, I wrote a book and I want you all to read it. Like, let's make it the book club pick. Let's go on tour. Let's have discussions about it. Low-key, I find it a bit odd, and I'm wondering why nobody does it, because it takes me back to Reese's book club pick late last year when she had her own book with Harlan Coben. And she's also like, yeah, I'm not selecting a book club pick. I'm out on tour. And I'm like, girl, just put your own story on Front Street. I kind of felt like they're trying to do that, but they're not doing that. And I can't understand why. I can't understand why. If you know why, let me know in the comments, because I understand not selecting a book because you can't put your time and energy fully behind it because you have your book. But I'm like, you've built this platform. You are allowed, I feel, to say, well, I have a book out now and this is what I want the conversation to be about. So again, let me know in the comments, but it doesn't make sense to me really. But I don't know. I think Oprah's book, let's say it's worth your time. Let's say it's worth your time, because I think if you're interested in how we talk about health and bodies nowadays and the shame and freedom around weight, or maybe you have your own history of, diet culture and all the things, then I think maybe, the book can have something for you there. It can have some potential to be a worth your time read, but I think it's definitely a more personal thing. But I think because Oprah had her show for so many years, she really should have made it front and center, because that was also a big part of her show, back in the day, But anyway, that's it for our January Celebrity Book Club Hangout and Audit. All right. Looking back, where's my notes? I'm going to say the Jenna and Sonny book club picks really showed up this month. I appreciated it. Reese just gave us an on-brand pick, which is just, another adaptation. And I'm like, listen, can you just prioritize a book that's good for readers first? But again, she has a business to run, so I'm going to let that one live. But I think she could have given another author the platform. GMA has 2 for 2 with solid and thoughtful choices, in my opinion. And Oprah's low-key hosting her own book club right now, even if she doesn't know it, because she's out in these streets promoting her book. So if you want to build out the rest of your TBR beyond what the celebrities are doing, I also have my January reading list. I have a list of books that came out this January that I read and loved. You can also take advantage of the Winter Reading Guide. Download your copy. It is free. Everything is organized by genre and categories and mood. So you can get more of my personal recommendations of what I've been reading and loving. But let me know in the comments, which of these book clubs do you actually trust the most? Which one do you find yourself aligning with more month over month, because I find myself gravitating to one book club in particular, I don't know if you can guess, but I'll tell you if you tell me yours in the comments. Now, if you haven't already, now's a great time to like the video, share the video, tell a friend to tell a friend about the channel, but also subscribe and hit that notification bell. I want to do chats like this every month where we audit the month's book club picks, but I'm also going to throw some recommendations at you as well. Coming up, we have lots of exciting things. I'm going to be sharing my winter curriculum. I know it's late, but we're doing that. I'll also be experimenting more on the channel too, so stay tuned so you can see more of what I'm doing in my day-to-day life. And we also have the Wuthering Heights adaptation coming up. I'm so excited to talk about and cover that, but also let me know in the comments what you'd like me to talk about and cover next. But until next time, I'm looking forward to talking to you in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.